y number. That's going to be 9. So I can ask you, tell me your x and y numbers. Or I can ask you, what direction does this first number go in? What direction does the x go in? You're going to tell me that the first number goes left and right. The second number goes up and down. So the y's go up and down, the x's go left to right. I can ask you, where is your domain? If I say domain, that means the first number. That's a fancy name for your first number or your x value. Or I can say, what is your range? Your range is a fancy way to say, what is your second number or your y number? So this is your first number, and this is your second number. That's number 3. I can ask you, what's the input? The input is a fancy way to say, what's your x value? What's your first number? It's called the input. So the first number can be called the input, the domain, the number that goes left and right, your x value. That's the first number. I can ask you, what is your output? Output is a fancy way to ask, what is your second number? What's your y value? What's your range? What's the number that goes up and down? All of these are terms for your second number. I can ask you, what is your independent variable? That is the x value. I can ask you, what is your dependent variable? That is what is your y value. All of these means x value, y value. You can think of the independent variable as your parents. They go to work, they're independent, they don't need anybody to take care of them. You are the dependent variable. It depends on how much money they make, how much money they can give you. It depends on if they want to give you any money, how much money you get. So you are the dependent variable, your parents are the independent variable. I can ask you to give me f of x. F of x is another fancy way to write y. Either I can write y or I can write f of x. F of x means function of x. This is the number that depends on x. Another, I can ask you for g of x. Again, please don't let them confuse you on SC Radio or any of these standardized tests. G of x is just another fancy way to write y. It's a function of x. This value depends on whatever x is. Your dependent versus your independent variable. So it'll look at g of x, but you can erase it and put a y here. You can erase f of x and put a y. It's the same thing. Now, collectively, if I say 0, 9, and I want you to know that I'm referring to both numbers, I can call both of these numbers coordinates. I can say, please plot the coordinates on your chart. I can say, please plot the points on your chart. I can say, please plot the ordered pair. Ordered pair means two numbers. That means 0, 9. Coordinates means two numbers, 0, 9. Points means two numbers, 0, 9. If I say, tell me your input, input means one number. The input is the x value. I can say, please plot this relation on your graph. Relation because the x value and the y value have a relationship. Remember we discussed that. This y value depends on whatever the x value is. If this x value changes to the number 1, the y value is also going to change. So they have a relationship, or we can call them